obviously, it's exciting to have you coming in Australia with Static X in May. I was just thinking right before we sort of jumped in here, when was the last time you were down in Australia?
That would have to be when we did Sonosphere of 2014.
Okay.
So it's been 9 years since we've been there.
Yeah, it's been a while then. So, what did you remember from that tour?
Oh, that Sonosphere was awesome. We got wedged right in between Rob Zombie and Korn. So Rob Zombie went on, then we went on the stage that was right next to it, and then Korn went on. So it was like the whole crowd watched Rob Zombie shifted over to Soil and then shifted back over to Korn. So we couldn't ask for anything better. I mean, probably about 15, 20,000 people a night. It was something. It was quite the experience.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously touring with Static X in Australia. What's your relationship with that band? Have you done sort of much shows and tours together before?
Yeah, we've done a ton with Static X. In fact, Wayne was a really early supporter of Soil back on our debut major label album Scars, and he invited us out shortly after that album came out to do Static X, Soulfly, and Soil. We did that tour together, and then we did probably about 4 or 5 other tours,
Yeah.
and we just became really, really good friends with that camp. And Static X, Tony and Koichi and Wayne and everybody and Ken were really, really good to us, back in the day.
Mm.
And it's been an honor to play with them again. We did a European tour. We did Static X and Soil in 2019 with the revamped band,
Yeah.
and now we're going to be doing Australia together and hopefully more. But it's been a it's been a real honor to be their friends, and the band that they have together now is the perfect tribute to Wayne. I mean, you see all these bands that try to, when somebody passes away, they try to, keep the band going without members and things like that. And
Mm.
they either do an awful job of it or it just doesn't sound quite right. But Static X, I think, did the most perfect thing you could possibly do. And I told them that night after night. I think I watched every show on the European tour we did together because it's just so amazing. It's a great tribute to Wayne. It's just done perfectly. There's not a flaw in it, so it's really cool.
Yeah, I did manage to catch them. They Static X came down to Australia back in 2019, and I managed to catch them there for the first time. With that band that I've got at the moment. And yeah, you're right. I mean, they did a fantastic job, and what a way to pay tribute to such a legend. What did you remember about Wayne? Did you have much sort of interaction with him at all over the years?
Oh, tons. I mean, we'd email each other, send text messages, throughout the years. And like I said, he was always a huge supporter in Soil. Uh, he sang on one of our records. He sang on the song called "Give It Up" on the True Self record,
Hmm.
and he was just always spreading the word of Soil. Every time they'd roll through town, we get together and hang out and have a good time and stuff like that. But he was a dear friend, so it was really sad when he passed away. We were really, heartbroken and kind of dumbfounded when we heard the news. We didn't think it would happen to a friend of ours so young.
Yeah, yeah. What a legacy that guy left behind as well. He's had such a huge impact on so many people, so many bands and stuff like that. And so it's great to sort of see someone like yourself, kind of remembering, because a lot of us, obviously never met him or whatever, So, yeah, just what a legend that guy was, really.
Yeah, I mean, what we did on the Static X tour that we did in 2019 is we took that song "Give It Up" and we actually took the vocal tracks that Wayne had put on it
Hmm.
and we incorporated them into the stage show into that song. So we were playing that song with Wayne's vocal tracks on there as a tribute to him and kind of our own special way, for that tour.
Yeah.
On this one, we're not going to be doing that, however, because we're going to be playing all songs off the Scars record, our quote unquote most popular Soil record. So
Hmm.
we're doing a little something special uh, this year and next year by going out and just doing all Scars songs for
Okay.
Soil. So kind of to celebrate, our biggest record in our own special way by doing that.
Yeah, cool. That's an interesting concept to kind of play, go back to an old record and play it from, start to finish. What about that album sort of resonates, do you think, amongst the fans so much?
Uh, it was our first album on a major label on J Records, BMG, and the song Halo was the song that really broke us out and kind of created the monster that is Soil Now.
Mm.
We had an album out prior to that called Throttle Junkies, but it was kind of, I like to call it our Too Fast for Love, like our Motley Crue Too Fast for Love. It's more or
Yeah.
less just a glorified demo. We really didn't know what we were doing. We were just kind of shooting from the hip, and
Yeah.
that's what came out of it. With Scars, we really honed in on our sound. We down tuned. We really focused in on the songs. We really became uh, our own on that record, and
Mm.
it's a very polished record, yet it's a very raw and innocent record at the same time. And I think that energy and that innocence and raw power, along with a semi slick production on there, just kind of gave us that boost that we needed to go into the mainstream. And it's the album that broke Soil out to for us to be here 25 years later.
Yeah, it's amazing how, you have all these sort of legacy albums and then so much time goes past. I mean, it's mind blowing really to think, like that was 25 years ago.
It's crazy. I mean, it feels like it was just yesterday that we recorded the record and all those things are happening, and you look in the mirror and you're like, wow, I'm 25 years old.
Yeah.
uh, it's just, it's mind blowing to see how the fans that originally got into it still like it. Their kids like it.
Mm.
And it's almost to the point to where some of them have grandkids that are getting into it. So we've kind of passed that mark to where we're almost, we're touching on 3 generations of Soil fans, and it's really unique, and it's crazy to see because, when you're young and you first start off the band, you don't know how long it's going to last. You think that, might last a couple years and you're done. And here we are sitting about talking to each other about going to Australia, all these years later. It's mind blowing.
Yeah. I know there's been word that you guys have been working on some new material. Is that any truth to that at all? Or
Yeah, during, right before the pandemic hit, we were working on some new songs, and then the pandemic hit and everybody kind of went on lockdown. During the pandemic, however, we did record 2 albums worth of material. We recorded 11 cover songs of bands that we just kind of admired over the years, growing up and stuff. That came out in August. It's an album called Play It Forward.
Yeah.
That just came out in August, and that's available. And then the second batch of material that we have, it's going to be coming out, I believe, in July of this year. That's at least what the record label has told us. So we went and hunkered down and recorded batches of all kinds of stuff. So the first batch came out early or late last year. The next one's going to come out this year. So we're back and active again. We kind of rode out the pandemic, kind of just went into lockdown and stayed there until this thing kind of blew over.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear some new music then as well. And speaking of that album, the Play It Forward one, I do have to mention because I was going through the track list on that, and I noticed you played a Prong song, and I'm a huge Prong fan, and not a band that really gets a lot of coverage. So I'm just wondering, is that sort of borrowing from your own personal influences? Why was Prong included in the track list there?
It's actually a band that we all love and we grew up, listening to. And it was actually me, and what we did, how we went about that album is we all wrote down songs that we thought that we wanted the band to record. And if there were any that were unanimous or had a majority vote, we instantly added those onto the record. And Prong, 3 of the 4 of us picked that song, Snap Your Fingers, Snap Your Neck.
Yeah.
Just kind of just out of nowhere without talking to each other or anything. And it turned out great. I actually sent it to Tommy Prong and asked him for a little quote on the song, and he gave one, and we kind of circulated that around. So it was even cooler to see, the writer and Tommy from the actual band enjoy our version of it. So it's been a special song to us growing up, and we really wanted to include that. I mean, such a great and underrated band.
Yeah, 100%. The amount of influence that band has had, it's mind blowing, and yet they never really sort of went to that level of like next sort of level kind of thing. So
Yeah, they're kind of like a soil.
Well, two great bands. It's unbelievable. It's just sometimes you sort of like you have these sort of great stuff, and for whatever reason, it just never gets to that Metallica level or whatever. You know what I mean? It's who knows what
Yeah.
the reason is.
I mean, we're fortunate. I'm kind of joking about that because we've been really, really fortunate. I mean, how many bands can say they've lasted over 25 years
That's very
and
true.
still
Yeah.
be able to do what they love, and still be able to play the places we have. So we're very, very fortunate in that respect because we didn't become a Metallica or a Disturbed or an Ozzy.
Mm,
That's 1% of all music that even get to that level. So
yeah.
those are like the 1 in a trillion type bands. But we're happy that we're still able to do it, and we got the success and notoriety that we have, and the Soil fans have been there since day one, and just rabid. So we owe it all to them, or else we wouldn't be doing it to this day.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to seeing you in Australia. And I do have one more quick question. I understand that you're involved in this side project called Embryonic Autopsy, which is I guess a more traditional sort of death metal sort of band. Tell me a little bit about how that sort of all came together.
Yeah, me and Adam, our guitar player for Soil, and our original drummer for Soil, all came from a death metal band called Oppressor,
Yeah.
and we had a few albums out in the early '90s and toured with Cannibal Corpse and Cradle of Filth, and we made a pretty good name for ourselves in the death metal scene. And when we started Soil to kind of get back to our roots, and we were really into like Corrosion of Conformity and Life of Agony and
Mm.
Black Sabbath, we were kind of getting back to our roots in a way. Soil just kind of started taking off out of nowhere, and we started Soil as the side project, and it just exploded, and we had to kind of leave our other bands behind. Oppressor was included, but I never stopped listening to death metal. I always loved bands. I mean, I'm wearing a Paradise Lost shirt right now. I don't know if you can see it, but
Yeah. So,
uh
yeah.
you know I've always loved bands like Paradise Lost, My Dying Bride, Cannibal Corpse, Morbid Angel, Disincarnate. I mean, the list goes on.
Mm.
And I've never stopped listening to death metal. So me and a buddy of mine actually, he asked me if I wanted to sing on this new album he was writing, and I'm like, boy, I haven't sang death metal in 2 decades. So we tried it out, and it actually worked. I learned my pipes were still working in that department,
Yeah.
and we just recorded these songs for fun. And all of a sudden, Massacre Records offered us a record deal. Ashley Talent, which is a booking agent, picked us up for booking, and the underground just grabbed onto it and just soared with it. And we've got some dates with Soulfly coming up. We did some dates with the Cavalera Brothers. We're doing a tour with Pyrexia. We got all these like things lined up, and it really wasn't supposed to be much more than just a fun side project that we were going to throw up on TuneCore or something. But
Yeah.
it turned into a life of its own. So we're just kind of having fun with it and kind of reliving our death metal roots with it. So it's fun to do that as well.
Oh, cool. Well, I'll check that out for sure. Because I know you had an album released. Was it last year or something, right? Or
Yeah, it came out
yeah.
on Massacre Records. It's called Prophecies of the Conjoined.
Yeah, cool. All right, I'll check that out because it's a great lineup. A lot of I'm looking at the thing like you had Terrence Hobbs from Suffocation, and you had a guest appearance from James Murphy as well, who's such a legendary guitar player.
Oh, the solo he put on that record is insane. And
Yeah,
Doc Coyle from Bad Wolves and God Forbid played on it as well.
yeah.
We just grabbed it. We just grabbed some friends that we, had known from the scene over the years and asked them if they'd throw something down. And I mean, James Murphy, that solo he put on there, it's just like mind blowing. He's always been my favorite death metal guitar player. So that
Yeah,
was really an honor to have him on that.
awesome. Well, anyway, thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it, and really looking forward to seeing you in Australia in May. So thanks again, man.
Absolutely. Can't wait. We'll share a couple pints together.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
Take care, buddy.